to after the application. Does that sound right to you? You're on mute, but it looks like you're saying yes. And here's Rashida.
Sorry, I was muted. I just let Rashida into the meeting,
Yep.
so you can have a moment to move forward.
Okay, great. So we have quorum, and Mia, I want to be respectful of everyone's time, and we have our applicants here with us. I was just going to do a little bit of an overview of kind of like our agenda for the evening, and then kind of like allow the applicants to give their presentations, and then maybe we can move kind of internal board business towards the back of the agenda. Does that feel right to you?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, great. Hi, Rashida. Good to see you. It's been a while. Very excited that you're on this committee.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you. Okay, so let's formally get started with our applicants. Just to explain a little bit about kind of what we're going to do today. We have two applicants for us here today to make presentations about their liquor license applications. We have La Cucuza LLC, and then we have Blue Nick Inc. as well. Forgive me for the honking. It's my dog grabbing a squeeze toy, but it will go away shortly. And then what we'll do is we'll hear those presentations. And as you probably see on the agenda, which was included in the email, we're going to do welcome and introductions after we hear from them. And we're also going to do committee goals and expectations after we hear from them, just so everybody knows a little bit about kind of the structure of these meetings in terms of our community board members, I believe many of whom are new to this committee. What we're going to do is we're going to hear from both of the applicants. We can ask any questions that we have. Their applications are also available to you in the agenda that was sent over, the email that went out on 10 hours ago at 9 a.m. So you have that information in your inbox if you want to look at the applications while they're giving presentations. We're not going to vote on anything with these members present. Once they leave, then we'll have a conversation and we'll put a motion on the floor to vote on the next step for the organizations. So just naming that right now, essentially we're going to hear from these two organizations to explain to us their plans, and then we will have a kind of internal conversation about next steps after they leave the meeting. Just in terms of introduction, so that you know who you're speaking to, we'll do a brief round of introductions for the members on the call. My name is Prima Lasana. I'm the chair of the Public Safety Committee, and I'll just we'll do a quick pass around. So Rashida, maybe you could go next.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Rashida Sadiq. I've been a prior member of the committee before. I also was the chair at one point. I've been part of the Public Safety Committee for the last, I would say, since 2017 until the present. Look forward to another full year. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashida. We'll pass it over to Ronald next. Ronald, you're on mute. Just FYI.
Okay,
There.
how's that? Good? Okay.
Good.
I'm Ronald Banks. This is my first time on the committee, period, and on the community board itself. I'm a resident committee member, and I look forward to participating and hopefully making a difference, a positive impact.
Awesome. Thank you, Ronald. Welcome. And then I'll pass it over to Janelle to kind of close this out from a membership perspective.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janelle Basil Charles. I'm a nonprofit and youth development professional. Back in 2020, I was a part of the Public Safety Committee, but then I transitioned into the Education Committee in 2021 to 2022, but I'm excited to be back and to make impact.
Fantastic. And then last, but certainly not least, perhaps last and most, Mia, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm not sure if everyone can hear me. My audio is terrible.
You can
right
hear you.
now.
That sounds great.
My name is Mia Hilton. I'm an assistant district manager, Community Board 9. I've been with the board since 2017 and a neighborhood resident.
Fantastic. All right. Mia is a big part of everything that we do here. And so again, without further ado, just kind of to turn it over to the folks who are here to present. We first up have Bluenick. So Bluenick, if you would like to say a little bit about your application, which we'll all have pulled up and can kind of review alongside your presentation, if you will. We'd love to hear kind of what your plans are, a little bit about your business, the intent behind your application, and then you can answer a few questions from the committee as well.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes, and if you
Yes,
could just state your name for us one more time, just because we only have Galaxy S8.
Okay, so my actually the real name is actually Ji-hee Hong. Maybe it's going to be a little bit difficult pronouncing my name, but it was indicated
Got it.
on the email. But you could just everyone just could call me Jenny.
No, we can
Or
call
it
you
could
Ji-hee Hong. We got it. We have no
Okay.
problem. That's not too hard for us.
That's fine. So I'm here representing on behalf Bluenick Inc. Located at 1150 Nostrand Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11225. But I think I'm pretty sure all the board members are familiar with this location, because originally going back in 2013, they actually had a catering license at the same location. And then he had it until 2016, and he decided to change the premise as a restaurant instead of the banquet hall. So he actually submitted a application back in 2019, and it actually got approved back in 2020 for the on-premise license. But the only reason that he wasn't able to get the license because he wasn't able to submit a proper certificate of occupancy from the building department. That was the only reason. So now he is in a process that he's almost ready to get the proper C of O from the building department. So we submitted a new application, and that's basically it. And then I think we provided all the requirement documents to the community board, to the email, that what it was required. And so I think maybe it's better to, if anybody has a question regarding to this premise, maybe it's going to be more easier. Because I was thinking that most of the older board members are familiar with this.
Yeah, I think that while that was 3 years ago, we have a lot of new members. I think it would be helpful to talk through just some of the particulars of the space and the intent. And I see that we have Rick Boyce here with us as well. So welcome. Ji-hee was just walking us through kind of some of the application particulars, but we haven't gotten into any great detail. And I think, if we could just hear a little bit about kind of some of the hours that you're intending to operate, and your outside spaces. I think those are the things that folks are usually most concerned with.
Sure. Let me just go ahead and start with their operating hours. Will be Monday through Sunday, starting from 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. every day. So which means daily. And then on the first floor, there is going to be a total of 16 tables with 32 chairs in the first floor. And then for the outdoor, there is a total of 10 tables with the chairs with 20 seatings.
And can you tell us, are those tables in a backyard or in the front?
It's in I guess I could call it as like a patio.
A patio in the front of the business or a patio in the
It's
back?
in the first floor. It's in the direction of the first floor.
Yes, but on the first floor on the sidewalk or on the first floor in a
In the
back?
side, in the side.
Okay, understood.
And then I actually attached the picture as well. I don't know if the board member received the attached pictures. There's
Let me see. There in the application there are
several pictures.
Oh yes, there are. Yes, helpful. Thank you.
So you could see the side way. There is a. So for the outdoor, there's only 10 tables, and then there's a 20 seatings that is available.
Okay. Understood. Was there anything else that you wanted to share about the business? And Rick, if you're the owner, would love to hear from you a
Well, the
little
only
bit.
thing is that the applicant is the owner, plus he also is the property owner.
Mhm.
So he started with the banquet hall, and then he just wanted to concentrate doing the, I guess, for the reservations only. But due to the pandemic and everything, he needed to, I guess, explore more, for financial wise too. And then I think it's going to be better for the community just to open as a restaurant. So as you can, I also attach the menu also. It's just an all American simple menu where they provides burgers, to soup, salads, and all that. So that it'll be more open to all neighborhood.
Mhm.
Besides just taking the reservation, if he was just running as a banquet hall, it's just for a special occasion. But this is just daily. Anybody could just walk in. It's just family oriented environment where anyone could enjoy it.
Understood. Thank you. Rashida, you've had your hand up for a while. Do you want to hop in and ask some questions?
Yes, thank you. I actually do remember the application because I was on the committee when you guys initially.
Okay.
Yes, so just had a couple of follow-up questions, which you actually answered. One of them was the reason that you're doing your application again. So is the certificate of occupancy already, are you still in the process of getting the certificate of occupancy? What's the
Well,
timeframe?
I spoke to the architect who is working in this the project right now, and then he said it could be get ready in maybe in a couple of months. But
Okay.
there's some things that they need to follow up. But definitely, he said he will guarantee that it will be issued. And then, but due to the pandemic, the liquor authority will actually issue the license without the certificate of occupancy. But in the time of the first renewing, which it will be the 2 years, if they cannot provide the certificate of occupancy, then it'll get automatically rejected from the liquor authority.
Okay. And then secondly, I know you mentioned the first floor. It's just one level, correct, with the outdoor space?
Yes, the first floor has the side outdoor space, but they also have the seating area in the basement as well. And I don't know if the layout was attached along with the.
Yes.
Oh,
it is
okay.
attached.
Okay, so if you can, look at the basement, they do have the separate bathroom, and along with they have 6 tables in all. And there's I guess in the basement, there's also, which they also have the seating and the table in the basement also.
Okay. And
And
then
for the members of the committee, that's page 21 and 22 of the
Mhm.
application.
And then
Okay.
finally, just 2 more questions. One
Sure.
is, the no live music is just gonna be recorded music, correct? And is it gonna be?
And then the owner actually mentioned about having a live music, but it's going to be just quiet music, it's just instrumental. But he wasn't able to decide which date it will be. He'll be, inviting those players.
Okay,
But it's not going to be like nothing like hip hop or anything, but it's mainly the main music is going to be a recorded music.
okay. And
And
then
it
finally,
does say, Rashida, it does say in the application, live
Hmm.
musician.
Hmm.
with the
Yes.
application.
okay, we got some recorded. Okay, and then finally, just the menu change. I'm trying to recall, and this is probably just something minor because I kind of remember it was supposed to be like a tapas Caribbean menu, and now it's maybe I'm recalling it differently.
Oh, that's
Now I know
no.
I saw the menu and I see it different. I was just trying to remember when they originally came, and I'm trying to, maybe I'm recalling it differently, but I just see was there a menu change also?
I
mean, it
think so.
looks great.
But this was the only menu that it was provided to us
Okay,
from the applicant. But the only issue, because I actually double checked with the liquor authority, what was the reason for the rejection. But the only thing is the issue was they weren't able to provide us proper C of O. That was the only reason.
okay, thank
Mhm.
you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the committee have any questions? And, you know, Mr. Boyce, if you'd like to say anything, you're welcome to. All right, calling for questions once, twice, thrice. Okay, Jihi, thank you
Yeah.
for this, and y'all can feel free to exit the meeting. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Everybody have a good night. Thank you.
You as well. Bye.
Bye.
Rashida, thank you for the great questions and for providing the historical context. Super helpful. So up next, Joe and Michael from La Cucuza. Love to hear a little bit about your business and your application as well.
Mind if I take it, Joe?
Oh, Robert, sorry. I said
That's okay.
my bad.
Okay, so my name's Robert Callahan from Michael Kelly Inc. I'll be presenting tonight, and with me is Joe Napoli, who's one of the owners of Joe and Sal's. So this is a beer and wine application for La Cucuza LLC, doing business as Joe and Sal's Pizzeria. We're located at 842 Franklin Avenue between Union and President Streets. Joe and Sal have been operating this location from 2016, and they're very popular in the neighborhood. We're a restaurant pizzeria with an Italian menu. Our hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday, noon to 10 p.m. on Sunday, and 11 to 11 on Friday and Saturday. Joe, that's all correct, right? You still work those hours? Okay. They have 8 tables and 18 seats. There's no bar. They have light background music when they play music on the iPads. Joe and Sal have both run successful businesses before. They have another Joe and Sal's on Myrtle Avenue since 2020. And they also ran Lysola on 128 Metropolitan Avenue from 2012 to 2016. So basically why they're asking for the wine and beer licenses, customer requests. You know, people want to have a nice Italian meal. They want a glass of wine or they want a beer. So that's why we're here. If you have any further questions, please feel free.
Yeah, I mean, I go to this pizza place all the time. See Joe there all the time. Kind folks, and
Thank you.
as always, you know, the kids in the neighborhood love it. The adults in the neighborhood love it. But for me, question, and they have good pizza. It says that you have 8 tables. Is that correct, or are you planning like another layout? I think I feel like I only remember actually like 4 kind of booths.
Yeah, I mean, we are planning another layout for the future. When COVID hit, we took out, initially we had about 5 of the 2-seater booths, but then we took them out during COVID and then we put some back, but we've been busier with the takeout, which is why we only kept 3. But I believe the 8 tables will be in the future plans.
Okay.
Because we do want, yeah, we do want to create some more inside, you know, dining.
Sure. Do you anticipate that most of the beer and wine will be like for delivery or for in restaurant consumption?
I would say it's probably going to be mostly in restaurant. I mean, I'm sure we'll get a decent amount of takeout. But I would say probably most of it would be in-house.
Great. And only beer and wine is
Yeah,
for this
just
application.
beer and wine, just very casual. Like Robert was saying, you know, we have had people requesting it for the last couple of years. So I think it'll be a great addition to the menu because people come in, they order a pie, they want to grab you know, they'd like to grab a couple of beers or grab a couple cans of wine. You know, it goes great with pizza. So, and you know, we, like he said, you know, we don't have live music or anything like that. It's very casual, family place. So, you know, it would just be a great addition to the business if, you know, we can get it going.
Yep. And just to confirm the hours, just you're only open till 10 p.m. on Sundays. You're open till 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Friday and Saturday are the only times when you're open until 11 p.m.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. Those are all of my questions. Does anybody else have any other questions? Rashida. Right.
One question. I'm just looking at the application. I see on yours, you're applying for a letter of no objection.
Mhm.
Or are you guys applying for that? Or is it for the letter, is it relating to the space or is it for the entire building?
Robert, you may want to answer that with the information I shared with Michael.
Actually, you know, I'm pretty sure the full board actually voted last week that they're no longer gonna require C of Os or LNOs on any of the liquor license applications. That's just an FYI. So this building doesn't have a C of O. So we need to get a letter of no objection from the buildings department saying they have no objection to us running a restaurant under use group 6 at this location.
Okay,
That's in the process now. We have buildings expediters work on that.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. When you say the full board, you mean the SLA board?
Yeah, the state liquor authority, the board themselves, they had a meeting this week where they did a lot of streamlining. And at one point, they went to where you don't need the certificate of occupancy at filing. They were letting you do it on your first renewal. The meeting last week, they voted on getting rid of the C of Os altogether.
Thank
So
you.
that will be soon.
Cool. We'll double check on that, but
Yes.
appreciate the heads up. And it was clearly something that the previous applicant shared as well. One thing that is almost certainly going to arise is the fact that this is within 200 feet of a church. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Well, actually, I wish Sal was here. He had a family emergency tonight, so he couldn't make it, but he was, the last time I spoke to him, he was going over to speak to the members of the church there to get their blessing. I don't know if he did that yet, Joe, or if he.
Yeah, I mean, I could comment on that. I mean, I've met the gentleman that runs the church several times, and he had no objection to it. I mean, if it's required at some point, I'm sure maybe we could get him to sign off on it some way, somehow. But, you know, I've had a couple of conversations with him about it because he's also a customer, comes in, and again, he had no issue with it. But again, I mean, if we need to kind of go further and get some type of documentation, whatever the case may be, I'm sure we can make that happen.
I would probably offer that it would be helpful if you could get a letter of some sort. I think that, you know, as we present this to the larger board, that question will inevitably be raised. And just to have that, to have some sort of backing or some sort of, you know, from the institution itself would go a really long way.
I mean, yeah.
When is the full board meeting?
Mia, can you remind us when the full board meeting is? And
Sorry, guys, it's Wednesday,
Okay.
September 28th at 7 p.m.
So you got 3 weeks. It's a pretty good amount of time. Yep.
And then I'll
sorry,
send it, I'm sorry,
we did
I'll
have,
send it to the
Robert?
office when we get it. Yeah,
We did have a bunch of signatures from local residents.
yeah, those are with the packet that we sent in already.
He may have been on there. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, but
Do you
again,
remember his name?
I can't, not off the top of my head. I really can't. To be
All right, so we'll work on getting that letter and then I'll submit it to the office as soon as we get it.
Okay, Rashida, I see you had your hand up for a little while when I let you get in here.
Okay, sorry, I was looking at the application. Actually, you mentioned that there were signatures from the community. I didn't
Yes.
see it attached to our
They're not in the packet, yeah, that
Okay.
we received.
They're not in the packet?
They're
Really?
not.
So, yeah.
Okay,
We will also need those.
okay, I have 2 pages of them, 30 signatures. You'll have those in the morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It also says, just to be clear, that there are, it says how many SLA licensed establishments are within 2 blocks, and it says 2, 1 pending red wine and 1 to-go beer. My understanding is that there's actually more than that in the area within 2 blocks. Can you say which 2 establishments those are?
No, I cannot. I went on to the SLA LAMP site, which is their mapping site.
Mhm.
So when you put in the address, you could put the amount of feet that you want to search.
Mhm.
So I put in 400 feet, which is usually about 2 blocks. And 2 locations came up. One was a pending to-go beer license and the other was a beer and wine license.
Yeah, and you just don't have the names of those businesses.
No, I can send those to you as well.
Yeah, if you could send those, that would be helpful. I mean, my
Sure.
understanding is that it's likely the 2 bars up on the corner ahead, but they have full liquor licenses, so I'm just not entirely sure who would have a to-go beer and a red wine license. But my understanding is also that there are at least 2 other full liquor licenses within a block of your location.
You know what? I'll send you a full 500-foot survey. So that'll show you everything that's listed.
Would be helpful. That's just
Okay.
my advice based on what I've seen previously moving forward. Like if you want to, kind of strengthen your documentation, I think that'll be helpful. Other questions from either Ronald or Janelle or Rashida? All good?
Well, again,
Okay.
I mean, just my last comment would be that we are, a very casual, family-oriented place. And you guys, I mean, I know you happen to know it. So, it's not going to be like to, introduce any type of late night crowd or noise or anything like that, or be a nuisance. We're business people at the end of the day. We just want to make the customers happy and introduce, something that is going to help create a, more casual experience and also help the business at the same time.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks for being here, and we'll follow up with you and look forward to receiving just the list of signatures and the businesses that are being pulled for this for these licenses, just so we have clarity. And then if you could, send a letter from the church next door, that would be incredibly helpful as we move forward. So we'll be in touch. Thank you for being here, and thanks for being a part of the community.
All right. Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Of
Thank you
course,
very
sir.
much.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Baby.
All right. How was that, Mia? How was that, Rashida? How did that go? This is my first time.
Good
Not
job.
bad.
You did great.
job,
You did
Primo.
great.
Not bad. Okay, good job, committee. Rashida, thanks for being here and for being guidance. So glad we have a lawyer on this. Critical to have a lawyer here. Ronald and Janelle, any questions that you had, kind of like in the kind of like what we went through and some of the questions that may have been raised?
I have a
Well,
Oh, sorry. No, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead, Jim.
Oh, thanks. So my question was along the lines of, how do we know what are the right questions to ask? Just because I still consider myself fairly new to this committee. So it's like I'm asking myself, okay, well, what are the right questions to ask, if that makes sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think Rashida can provide some guidance. I think I would say from my perspective, it's like, what are the questions that the community would ask? Like that's kind of what you want to keep in mind and at heart, which is like, is this going to be a disturbance to folks who live around, kind of like what music being played, like, is that going to be loud? Are you going to have drunk people on the street like late at night? Like, what's around also, like, that, is it an appropriate place to be receiving a liquor license? Are there schools around? Are kids going to be potentially around that? Are there churches around, or is that going to be a bother to churches? I think that's kind of a lot of what will be asked. And another piece is probably like, both of these are new applications. But on a renewal, you'll probably want to be in touch with the police department as well and ask if there have been disturbances at that location, or lots of noise complaints is another piece. Alcohol equals fun plus trouble, and sometimes, and so people are cognizant of that, especially some of the older members of the community, and people have kids, right? So we just want to be thoughtful of those communities, and demographics and the questions and concerns that they might have. But Rashida will give you a much more thoughtful answer. So Rashida, go for it.
I think you actually did a great answer to what, those are the kind of things that, just a little bit, I was the chair of the committee at one point, and then also been on the committee, so since 2017. So, but the questions that you will get the application, and basically if you need clarification on anything that's been in the application itself. So looking to make sure that they have the appropriate number of signatures, looking, their hours, their capacity, is there going to be security? So really kind of things that, as Primo has said, would affect the community and the neighbors. And one thing about the signatures that I know sometimes we get this in the morning, but if we can, we want to look through and make sure the signatures are within the vicinity, because sometimes you'll see, random signatures, and, we don't care about, 4 blocks away if it's in a building and there's tenants upstairs and none of the tenants signed that petition, that petition. So we really want to kind of look at the signatures, making sure they're notifying the neighbors that they're applying for this liquor license, and they're, they're aware of it. So always just backing up their history of, whether they've had other businesses, as Primo said, for the renewals, if they've had any incidences with the police, with the fire department. And sometimes they say, we got this one today from Primo, which was, we approved previously, and now they're here again. So we'll know what was the reason and why was there a delay, things like that. But yeah, it's just, there's no right answer. It's just being inquisitive. You're here on the committee to be inquisitive on these applications that come before us.
That was super helpful. Thank you.
That answers my question too. I had a similar question. And I was at a disadvantage because I skimmed the application. So I think what you were saying, to look at it and kind of look for quality of life issues and how folks are going to be impacted. And I was following everyone's lead just to be familiar with the process. I'm grateful.
That makes sense. I would say that what you'll experience next is that we vote basically to put this in front of the larger community board, and in that space is where you will face the most intense kind of questioning from the community, and so you just want to be prepared to answer those questions. And so like we get this kind of more private time with the applicants, and if we can step into that space and say, here are all the things that we know about this applicant based on our previous conversation, the community members will feel much better about the application, although we want to basically ask the questions before to those organizations that we anticipate the community is going to ask anyway. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Great. So I think the next thing for us to do is let's do introduction. Let's do a proper round of introductions, and then we can vote on the 2 applications that were presented to us and what we'd like to do with them. And Rashida and Mia, correct me if I'm wrong. This is my first time as chair of this committee. I previously chaired another committee and have been on the community board properly for one full term of 2 years, and I'm just starting my second term. But Rashida has me beat on years. Mia has me beat on years. They know this stuff better than I do. So I come to this space with humility and with gratitude for all of you. But my name is Primo Lasana. I'll kick things off since I'm talking. My name is Primo Lasana. I am a member of the community. I live on Crown Street between Washington and Franklin. And like I said, I was chair of a committee previously. I was born and raised in New York, lived in Brooklyn for about 15, 17 years, something like that. Hunter for college. I am a nonprofit professional, much like Janelle. I'm the executive director of an organization in New York called Reading Partners, which is also a national nonprofit. So previously I chaired the Youth Services Committee. We're in CB9. And other than that, you'll see me out and about in the community in lots of different ways. I've worked previously with Rashida as well on the Youth Services Committee. So she is a friendly face, and Mia has given me lots of guidance over the years and has been a trusted advisor. So excited to be here. Why public safety for me? I do think that this is a fascinating time for regeneration and rebirth of businesses in Brooklyn and across New York. And I think it's just important to have thoughtful kind of and direct leadership on this committee. And then I think the other piece is, part of what we do is NYPD and FDNY affiliation. And I just want to make sure that the kind of entire community is well represented and that we have strong ties to NYPD and to FDNY. We live in a community with a lot of people of color, and I think that it's really important for us to build strong relationships with institutions that interact with this is the political answer, is institutions that interact often with our constituents in this neighborhood. And so I think that we want to be as well represented as possible and as thoughtfully represented as possible. So again, grateful to all of you for being here. And that's my intro. I'll stop talking. I'm going to pass it to Ronald next. Switch up the order. And Ronald, maybe you can tell us a bit about kind of where you live, your experience in the community, a little bit of your history, and view to public service.
I'll try to be as succinct as possible. I live in the community. I'm on Midwood between Bedford and Rogers. I'm a homeowner. I'm a consultant. I'm an alternative dispute resolution mediator. I've been an organizer, worked on behalf of a number of political people, both here in Brooklyn and in Queens. I'm committed to, I guess, progress and inclusion. And I thought I would make a positive contribution by participating on the community board and being part of the solution in the community. And basically, that's why I asked to participate. There was an opening on the Public Safety Committee, and I was like, okay, public safety. I've done some anti-crime work, but it wasn't my first choice. I was like, okay, but what exactly is public safety? I got a concept, but so I'm glad, I'm glad I've met the folks I'm meeting tonight, and I look forward to making a contribution. I think that's all I got.
Welcome, Ronald. It's a pleasure to have you here. Sounds like you have a fantastic background and all the right reasons for being here. So we're really glad to have you. I'll pass it to Janelle next.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Janelle. I'm a nonprofit and youth development professional. I work with an organization called Big Brothers Big Sisters. And what I basically do is I manage a program called Bigs in Blue, which basically bridges the gap between the NYPD and New York City youth. So we work with precincts in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, and some precincts in Manhattan. And then also I do work with another nonprofit that basically facilitates entrepreneurship curriculum in New York City public schools. So I help manage their mentor program there. I am a born and raised Brooklynite. I don't live too far from, I live on Schenectady. Well, I used to live on Schenectady between Midwood and Maple. Last year, I bought a house upstate. However, I still work with the community, so I'm always literally in Brooklyn. On my free times, I mentor first generation college students. I like to travel, I like to hike. And, so for me, being on the community boards is very important, just because like I always want to make sure that like I'm supporting my community in whatever capacity that is. So in 2020, as I mentioned, I was a part of the Public Safety Committee. In 2021, I decided to make a switch and going to the Education Committee, just because like those are two areas that are important to me. So after my time there, I decided to put the Public Safety Committee as my first choice and come back. So here I am, and I'm looking forward to working with you all throughout this fiscal year. Yeah, that's it about me.
That's amazing. I'm amazed we've never crossed paths before with you working at BBBS for so long. I worked for 8 years at iMentor, which
Oh,
is
wow. Yeah.
up here space. And it sounds like you have a tremendous amount of connectivity through the Bigs and Blue program. So we definitely are excited that you're here and look forward to leaning on your expertise on the NYPD side of things. It's going to be incredibly helpful. So thank you for being here. Rashida, why don't you, blow us away?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rashida Sadiq. I am originally from Grenada, but I have lived in the community for over 30 years. Went to PS 92, went to IS 61, then Midwood High School, went away for college to Howard and came back and I'm living still in my community. I love our neighborhood. I love the area, and that's why I'm serving on the community board and decided to join the community board in 2017. I've served on both the Public Safety Committee and the Youth Services Committee and other ad hoc committees as part of just this process. And just looking forward to continue to serve and be helpful. My mother still lives in the neighborhood. My friends and family live in the neighborhood. And yeah, just love it and want to continue to see it prosper.
Amazing. What a group we have, huh? I'm so excited for this year,
I was
right?
going to say, I'm an attorney by trade.
By trade. It shows up sometimes. It shows up sometimes. It's so helpful to have you here. I'm so excited for this year. And then Thomas, I think perhaps you're a community member. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Yes, and thank you. I am Thomas. I am a community member. I live here in the neighborhood, and I'm interested in learning more about the way our city community and government works and finding out more what I can do to get involved. So sitting in on a committee meeting, learn a little bit more. I'm a musician. I serve as Minister of Music at the Church of St. Mark on Brooklyn Avenue and Union Street in the community. That's the primary thing that I do. When I'm not busy as a musician, I also enjoy getting out of the city and hiking. I'm another hiker.
Awesome.
Love it. And
Well,
I've lived
welcome.
here.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just saying, I've lived here in the neighborhood for about 3 years and had lived in Brooklyn for a few months once previously before that, but New Yorker for about 5 years.
Awesome. Well, welcome to this space. We love to see people in the community getting engaged, learning more about the work that's done on the community board and the work that's happening in the community. Just to give a brief overview of kind of this Public Safety Committee and the work that we do, I'd say that there's kind of two primary areas that we focus on. One is public safety from kind of the perspective that you would imagine, which is the New York Police Department and the Fire Department of New York. So we liaise with those departments. And then the other side is also a relationship with the kind of vertical with the State Liquor Authority. So State Liquor Authority, grants liquor licenses and community boards kind of make suggestions. It's soft power, if you will, but it's a little bit hard. To the State Liquor Authority about liquor licenses that are being applied for inside of the community. And so previous to your arrival, we had 2 applicants for liquor licenses. here to present about their businesses and their intentions behind adding a liquor license. We also do renewals. And so we then bring those to the larger community board and make suggestions ultimately about whether they should be granted or denied. Yeah, that's kind of at the heart of what we do. Rashida, did I miss anything?
That is it. And I'm sure we're going to add some more on what we do, because I think, well, when we go into goals on what what we also, in addition to just the liquor license, to see what other things we can do as part of public safety.
Awesome. Without further ado, it's the most natural transition that has ever existed. So let's get into goals, committee goals and expectations. I think that at an outset, it'd be great to talk about maybe expectations first. I think like we should probably co-create our expectations. It'd also be good to speak a little bit about kind of the cadence of meetings and the timing of meetings that will move forward. So a little bit on the practical side, and then maybe we can get into goals after that. So let's start off with the easy stuff, which is when are we going to meet and how do we expect, to operate within this space? I don't think we need to go too deep into kind of like expectations, but I think everyone here is lovely, and I don't anticipate that we're going to have any, mistreatment of others. I think the usual ground rules apply: be respectful, ask questions, assume best intent. And I think, let's show up on time. And I personally, as the chair of this committee, am committed to making sure that Rashida's been in my meetings before. I like to end on time. I like to get you back to your life, and our meetings will be at least an hour long, but we're not trying to have 2-hour long meetings. Mia or a representative from the community board's office will be here to kind of take minutes, which is something that we do need to do. I think this is also a committee where we need to follow kind of like the rules of decorum pretty strictly, just to make sure that nothing slips by us. And, there's kind of no question as to our following of the rules, because it's a little bit more serious here in some ways than it is in a Parks and Recreation committee or something. We are making suggestions and voting on items in almost and reviewing applications. I think what Ronald mentioned is also like a good practice for us to have, which is just try to review the applications in advance. It'll make us all kind of like more equipped with good questions as we come into the presentations from applicants. So that's my 2 cents. And what I intend to stay honest to, but I'd love to hear from other folks also about other kind of expectations that we should have of the space, or expectations that you have coming in.
Well, for me, am I muted? Okay.
No, you're
for
good.
me, time is an issue. So, knowing that we can get it done, if we could, in that time, that's fine. But I think it's important that we're effective, that we don't become shoddy in a sense, and in the pursuit of time, overlook some things that might impact people negatively, or put us in a position where we have to go before everyone, and something we overlooked because we didn't take the time. So I'm all for the time piece, but I'm also willing, if necessary, to stay to get the job done.
Love that. Good reminder. Thank you, Ronald. Yeah, let's be thorough. Rashida, Janelle, go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify, we're going to be doing Thursdays at 7. That's going forward. And just to put it on the calendar, Thursdays at 7 going forward.
Let's get it on the calendar. Mia, Thursdays at 7. I would be open to starting earlier than 7. I don't know if anybody else can, but if 7 works best for everybody, let's do 7.
Yeah. It will be difficult for me to do prior to 7 just because of my work schedule. So 7 actually works perfectly. So if we can keep it, that would be great.
Say no more. 7 o'clock it is.
7 works for me also.
Great.
7 works for me as well. And I just want to echo what Ronald said and what Primo said about being thorough. And just, I think one of the other important things for me is just like giving one another grace, and being open to hearing different ideas. Just because that is something that I've sort of like faced in like, other committees where it was sort of hard to share thoughts and ideas. So I just think that like giving each other grace when it comes to that, I think that would be really nice.
Love that. Let's be as inclusive as possible with everyone's voices. And I also hope that if I'm ever not doing that enough, that y'all will let me know. And I think I've always valued feedback. And so the more feedback that y'all can give me, the better. So just opening
How
that up.
many how many more members are there? Is it two? Is it?
There, okay, so I have two other members, Yakov and Tessa, and so both of them are returning members. Yakov is the former chair of this committee, and Tessa Hackett Vieira is a longstanding member of the community board. They're both great. Yakov told us that he couldn't make it tonight. I haven't heard from Tessa, but we are a relatively small committee at the moment. That's just 6 members, I believe, right? And so with 6 members, we will need at least 4 people to show up to every meeting in order to have a quorum, because you need to have a majority of the committee in order to be able to vote on items. I know that it's a challenge that the Public Safety Committee has faced in the past, was like just not having quorum. And so I think attendance is really critical. And so if you are not going to be able to attend, please do let us know with as much notice as possible so that we can reschedule if necessary, because there's no point in kind of holding a meeting and holding other people's calendars hostage if we're not going to have a quorum. So the earlier you can let us know if you're ever not able to attend a meeting, please do. I'm responsive via email. Mia's responsive via email. So please do let us know. And maybe we can grow this committee too. Yeah. Nice to have 7, you know. 'Cause-
Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah, Thomas, you could join this committee in theory. You know, I mean, I'm sure you're probably shopping around and checking out lots of different committees and seeing what fits with your schedule, but it is open to community members. And so if that's a thing of interest to you, just reach out to the community board's email address and they'll shoot you a link to a very brief application.
Okay, sounds good. I have to learn a little bit more about exactly how the process of joining works. I was just looking into that.
Awesome. Mia can certainly guide you if you shoot her an email, but the email address I believe is available on our website. It's something that's long and complicated. It's like bkcb09@newyorkcity.gov. something. So I'm not even going to try, but and we still don't have chat available, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, and that is because we had a chat open 2 years ago and it became a very destructive space in the larger community board meetings. People attacking each other in the comments and spamming, and so ultimately the larger community board voted to remove it. It is still an issue of great contention at the larger community board meetings. I will let you know. You're almost certainly going to hear about it at some point. There are members of the community who believe that it is non-inclusive. I understand that, as well as the fact that we hold these sessions on Zoom. We could potentially move back to in person at some point, in which case our meetings would be held at the Nostrand Avenue office. Is that right, Mia?
That is correct.
Yeah. So another good reason to keep 7 o'clock. It's gonna be a little harder to get over there, but okay, so those are good, I think, expectations. Does anybody else want to add any other expectations of this committee? I feel like everybody said a little bit, but I don't want to move on until we all feel like we've closed out this expectations piece. Okay, it sounds like we've been both thorough and inclusive in this portion, let us move along to committee goals. I would offer that this is probably something that can be a little bit fluid, but I'd love to know kind of what each of your expectations are, and we can co-create some goals for this committee. Rashida, you came with some thoughts, and so I'd love to hear them.
And I don't mean to talk so much, but I just have a passion about this, and just one of my things as far as the public safety has leaned very heavily to the SLA licensing, which is, you know, accounted for because we do have a lot of businesses in the neighborhood and things like that. So that does come up a lot. I do think public safety is a larger, broader aspect of it. And I would hope that this year we can try to incorporate some of that again back into it. I know at one point we had like FDNY came and spoke at the smaller committee, and then eventually did speak at the larger community meeting about just smoke detectors and you know, things like that in the community, building safety. We also used to have the NCOs, which is the neighborhood community officers for each sector. I believe they're gone back and doing in-person monthly meetings in their sector. But at one point we used to have at least one come for every different sector to give us an update on what the like crime or, you know, public safety items, give their information, just introduce us to them. So we have their phone numbers. So we can give that to the larger community as well, and just on their schedule. So we have that, and people understand what sectors are covered by your neighborhood community officers. So I think we want to also put that as, I think that's one of the things I also want us to hopefully try to get back in, whether it's virtually, if we ever go in person, that as well. And then also not just focusing on NYPD, we also want to focus on also alternative means of public safety. So we have Elite Learners, which has an office here on Rogers and Hawthorne. I think they just, with the last year or two, but see what other kind of community-based organizations that are here in the community helping to interact with, you know, members of the community, not just with NYPD, but also make that a focus as well. So those are my 4 kind of things that I would want to think. And also, I'm glad Janelle had mentioned about the youth. So me and Prima have been on the youth services committee, so it'll be fun to see how we can incorporate maybe some kind of like youth interaction with public safety, whether it's NCO, whether it's Elite Learners or any other programs like that, because I know they've been having like basketball tournaments at Parkside, and I think at the one on Kingston Avenue, over there, but just other ways of making sure the community knows what's, because we know crime is an issue, you know, but there's, you know, crime in the community, in the larger community, but also want to know what's going on in our community as well, not just liquor licenses, which is good, but we also have a bigger part of public safety.
I love that, Rashida. Thank you. Would love to hear from other folks. Yeah, just your reactions, your thoughts, your additives.
Please, go ahead, Jen, please.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. You were good.
No, because this is the second time I did that to you. So it's okay.
I was just going to say that I appreciate what you had said and the approach, because it requires a whole public safety. If you just keep it to liquor licenses, yeah, but that's not really the whole picture. Public safety and in the same breath say quality of life is taking a holistic and inclusive view and trying to connect the dots and trying to see where things overlap that produce safety. But it's not always about the businesses and the liquor licenses, but the role the police play, the education and information that they bring that we share with others, and how we can help others do simple things in their building, whether it's developing tenant associations or block associations that can circulate various kinds of information that provide resources for youth, that takes them off the street, that provides services for elderly, that allows people to actively participate in their community. Because an active citizenry makes it, never mind, I'm going off into something else. But in any case, I think that, I think that that's relevant and it's necessary. If we're going to be a viable committee that has an impact beyond the businesses and the liquor licenses to a sustainable quality of life. Okay, Janelle, that's all I got.
That's good stuff, Ronald. Thank you.
So definitely echoing what Rashida and Ronald said, it would be great if we could sort of like interact and engage with the community outside of like the meetings. And something that comes to mind is like maybe like holding a self-defense class, right, for community members to attend. And maybe we could even tap into the NYPD resources and say, well, you know that you have individuals at the police academy who do this for a living. Maybe they can come and sort of facilitate a self-defense class for members of the community, right? So it's like we're engaging in the community for public safety reasons. And I just think that, so in 2020, when I was a part of the committee, it was heavily like based off like liquor license and things of that sort, as everyone mentioned. But if we can find ways of like engaging with the community, especially being now that things are opening up a lot more, I think that would be really great.
I love that too. Rashida and I are very used to hosting events. This is a big part of kind of what we did on the Youth Services Committee. So as things open back up, yeah, I think it would be really great. I know that, like, you know, some of the most popular committees host events, and I think we could host one, maybe two. Events take a ton of work, but I think that we should be interacting also kind of with the community outside of this space and offering actual resources, because everyone is right. Like, public safety is a big idea, and we obviously as a community board want to make sure that members of this community have an increased sense of public safety, and that means so much, right, for, like you've said, young people, everybody, the elderly. And there are ways that we can bring them more resources to feel like active participants in the safety of their community. And so excited to do that work alongside everybody here. And I think we have some broad but good goals that we can enact, you know, over the course of the coming months. I think a big part of, in the coming year, a big part of what drew me to this committee was that it was too focused on liquor licenses, and the idea of public safety is much larger. And so I think that we have a lot of work to do, but I think there's also some low-hanging fruit, right? Like building a relationship with the NYPD, the FDNY, community-based organizations, something that we can achieve, I think, quite quickly. And then I think once we have those relationships built and we've invited them into this space, as well as into larger community board space, we're going to learn a lot more about the directions that we want to go in the future. Rashida, take it away.
Oh, question. This is probably for Mia. I don't know if we have a list yet of the NCOs, or maybe we can compile them so we can distribute to our committee of the NCOs, and then also the community-based organizations. I know Elite Learners is one of them, but find out what other community-based organizations are in our community board so we can reach out to them as well. I think that would be helpful, so we can start kind of having this kind of like, I guess, spreadsheet or something of contact information. I know one.
Most definitely.
Okay, and then I know one other thing we had talked about at one point was maybe finding out who the other public safety committee chairs of the neighboring community boards are, to kind of have, I know at one point when I was the chair, we did kind of like a community chair meeting with some of them and kind of expressed what was happening that affected our community and kind of went over to other communities. So that would be nice to kind of bring that back and kind of find out who's the new chairs of those public safety committees as well.
Got it, definitely. I'll reach out to Barada and Bibilova to see if there's been any rotations out of the NCOs that we had on file for last year. And we're actually working on our CBO list, but specifically, I guess, you know, I'll just tell Dante that we can target and figure out if there are any new violence interrupters that have been assigned to our area and get that information to you guys. And then also we can connect with 8, 14 and 17, because at Parkside it's a mashup at 14 as well. So yeah, noted. I'll connect with Dante offline and get this information to you guys.
So does that sound like something that we want to just target for the next meeting, is to invite the NCOs, the NYPD, FDNY, and the other community board chairs of the committees of 17 and 14 to our next meeting, so that we can start to build relationships kind of immediately, and then we'll also start putting together that list with the support of the community board office. Do those feel like the right next steps for our next meeting, or is that too soon?
No, I think that's great. I think my personal is like, yeah, with the NCOs, especially as we start getting into the colder months over the summer. So yeah, I think maybe we want to target like maybe one meeting NCOs, next meeting FDNY or something like that, just so that we don't go over. So we kind of like, you know, target kind of like one, like the meetings for that as well, because we still
So,
probably
like,
will have the SLA.
We will still have the SLA. It will inevitably be a part of things. I really like that idea. How does that land with other folks? Maybe we target NYPD for the next meeting. And then we do FDNY as we get closer to the cold months, because when it gets cold, there's lots of fires. And then CBOs for meeting number 3 and go for there.
I mean, speaking for myself, I think it makes sense because we need an overview. We need to be informed, and in order to make informed decisions, we need to get an overview of what's going on in our community from various sectors. And then we need to digest that and then figure out how we go from there, what we do with that information. I mean, for me, I think it makes sense.
Thanks, Ronald. Janelle, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a really great and thought out plan. I can definitely support if you need help reaching out, if you need help reaching out to like NYPD or FDNY. I'm just laying out my helping hand to support with this cause. So just let me know.
Thank you, Janelle.
Mia, I heard there's an officer, Nefertiti, as well.
Yes, it's Nefertiti Officer Nefertiti Charles and Officer Victoria Biblova. I'm not sure exactly how long Biblova will be on duty, as she is pregnant. So she may be heading to maternity leave very soon. But Officer Charles is a solid community partner. Has come to our rescue and helped us a few different times event-wise. So definitely.
That's awesome. So maybe we can reach out and see if they can attend our next scheduled meeting. By the way, which is our next scheduled meeting?
Our next meeting. So we're first Thursday.
We're first Thursdays, understood. Okay. Also, you know how much I love a calendar appointment. You're probably
Sure, tomorrow morning. I got you.
You'll probably call me Mr. Calendar Appointment at the office.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's helpful. It's a placeholder. It's the October 6th.
October 6th. Great.
October 6th at 7 p.m.
I'm gonna miss the Nets Heat game for this committee. That's how much I care about public safety.
Sacrifice. All about sacrifice.
That's what public service is, right?
You'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll probably survive. Great. Does this like the conversation that we've had? I know it's kind of wide, but I feel like we've come up with some good kind of sub goals for our next 3 meetings. I think it's also okay not to plan out your entire year and not to name every single goal, and to stay flexible and fluid to what is clearly a rapidly changing environment. So I'm comfortable with us planning out the next 3 months, staying flexible, revisiting whether things are working in 3 months. And, you know, we can constantly kind of have this conversation around goals if y'all are comfortable with it as well. And let me know if this the conversation so far feels substantial enough for us to kind of move forward to talking about larger public safety concerns. Or if we need to dig in a little bit more around goals.
It works for me. I enjoy the brainstorming, and we'll see what sticks. I think that's the way to go. Better than doing nothing. You know what I mean? Or being so structured, we get stuck. It's great.
Sounds good. All right, I got 2 more thumbs up over here, so feeling good about that. Let's talk about public safety concerns. I think, what Ronald shared is true. Like, we don't know exactly everything that's going on in the community, but I'd love to hear from y'all about kind of like what some larger concerns may be right now. I know the Labor Day parade just passed through town, but felt relatively quiet to me. Not quiet, but like violence quiet. Go ahead, Rashida.
I feel like I'm talking so much. Sorry.
You're not. Listen, there's only 4 of us, right? So,
Really?
yeah.
So I think just kind of, I'm on like a couple of like Facebook community groups. And I know that at some point it was just like, the burglaries or like the car theft, I forgot what you call it, the carbonate. It's something with the cars that they were
Carjacking?
not carjacking.
No, the
um,
catalytic
catalytic-
converter. It happened to
catalytic
my
converter.
neighbor. They
yes,
take
and
it off
that's
your
been-
car.
And I
It's
know that happened to
happening all
somebody.
over New York right now.
Yeah, and there was like some in the neighborhood, like on Fenimore. I had a friend that saw them coming, like she had her thing up there. So I've just kind of been seeing a little chatter about that in the community, in the groups. And I know Hawthorne was a big kind of hotspot. I'm not sure if it's still a hotspot, but maybe we'll find out from the NCOs what's been going on there. I know that on Flatbush, and I think it was Beekman was a little bit of a hotspot as well.
Right. It was, yeah.
So not sure how that's been played out. So maybe we'll get some information from NCOs. And we'll just hear what's noise complaints. I think the Juve and everything went off while I was participating with my friends and family and on the Parkway, and it was pretty incident free. I mean, it was a lot of cops. So at one point it seemed like it was more than the revelers, but I guess that's what we have to do these days. But so far I think it was pretty, I didn't see anything in the news.
I agree. It was a great Labor Day parade this year. I really enjoyed it. And the cops were even they seemed like they were in a good mood. It's cool to see. And yes, the catalytic converters. My neighbor who lives not my neighbor, my coworker who lives in Park Slope had her stole, which I thought was bold. They're even sealing them in Park Slope. So it's hitting here. Ronald, what's happening in PLG?
I'm sitting here thinking, and Rashida, she went over so much. I'm like, yeah, it's funny when you're not thinking about it, all these things come up. It's like, this and that, and then you say, okay, what's on your mind about it? You don't know what to pick. I'm sitting here like, wow, what is it? But basically that's it. And also driving. I mean, there's speeding. There's young people with nothing to do. They get involved in all kind of activity. And I think fundamentally that's it, people out and drinking. I mean, we're talking about open containers. Folks gathering around, and I see some things in apartment buildings, particularly on Lincoln Road often. I don't know, it's almost like they've taken over some buildings. It's just part of the culture. Yeah, I think fundamentally that's it. Speeding, young people in the street with nothing to do, stealing packages. That's a big deal. Taking the Amazon packages. I've seen that snatch and run. I've seen that a number of times. That's an issue. But yeah, I think those are quality of life issues, But I think, again, if we can get the community, people out of their comfort zone, to participate, to volunteer, we can create the vehicles or connect people and bring people to become active in the community and find a place for youth and kind of connect the dots. You know, maybe we will, just by virtue of, it'll be organic that we improve the quality of life and public safety naturally, you know. It will happen. And that's a big part of what we do. I mean, as we're talking about it, it seems broader, the potential, you know, as we get creative, you know, like you said, there's some low hanging fruits. It's a process, but we touch the quality of life that makes everything else fundamentally possible and enjoyable. When people can go out and feel safe in the streets, you know, elders can feel safe in the streets and can participate and get out their house and involve themselves in things. It's important, you know, when the old can talk to the young, it's important. But we need peace for that in the community. And we need us people need to have a sense of peace for that to happen, to get out their comfort zone.
Yeah, love all that. Package theft. See, once you started going, you got to a bunch of good stuff.
Yeah, I know. That's why I don't want to get started. That's why I listen to Rashida. She said, you know,
The package
says the
theft.
same thing. It's differently. I just keep going. That's all.
No, you added some good stuff there. I know package theft affects lots of people in Brooklyn. Personally, in my building, we had to build a package room, and we went from hundreds of package thefts a year to zero overnight as soon as we installed it. But it also reduces the amount of like stranger people who enter your building. The more you're able to remove an incentive for outsiders to kind of come into your building, also the safer that people feel. There's just less people kind of trailing other people into buildings too. It's a really interesting point. Janelle, anything that you would add in terms of some local concerns?
Yeah, definitely. I would say around my parents' house, definitely there were a lot of break-ins that's been happening. There's a lot of shattered windows. It actually happened to my husband and I. We were visiting and we parked the car across the street, and it actually happened twice. So just my luck. But that happened. And then also the other thing I would say is that the speeding has been like out of control. And one of the things I've been noticing is that there've been a lot of like fake registration. So there's a lot of people driving around with like fake license plates. And the only reason why I know this is just because, my husband is in law enforcement. So that's one of the things that like he has pointed out to me. So you'll see people with like paper license plates on the back of their car, and it'll just be like, you could just look at it and tell like there's something wrong with this, right? And then it'll be expired from like September 2021, and they're just driving around. So like whenever they're getting into like accidents, they're just fleeing the scene. And then let's say if they're speeding and there's a speed camera, it's not going to capture them, or nothing's going to go to them because obviously the plate is not real, it's fake. So I think that would be another thing, and definitely the noise complaints. I don't think that it was as bad as last summer, but that's definitely another thing that's been affecting the area in which my parents are.
Super helpful. I saw that headline around fake license plates yesterday for the first time. I heard that the NYPD did a sweep of Bed-Stuy, and they found 40 fake license plates during the sweep.
Yeah, it's insane because I know like during the pandemic, I think that's when I think the DMV was like, I don't know if they were shut down, if they were backed up, but there was like a lot of people with like the temporary tags like for a while. So I think that sort of like caused from that whole situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something for us to keep our eyes on for sure. I in my building received lots of complaints about cars being parked indefinitely on streets. I think the community board gets these. Mia, you know what's her name in my building? What's her name? Miss Shirley Hemmings.
Yes, Miss Hemmings, I speak to her quite regularly. Yeah, that is an issue. We do receive a lot of those calls, but you know, we just have to do like targeted reporting so that it eventually gets picked up. Because they just don't have the physical manpower to continuously circle back for, and it's a lot. And then add on top of the, people who want to be street mechanics and bring 3 or 4 cars to their own block to hold and maintain there where they do work.
Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of fake chop shops basically and garages.
Right.
They just they think the street is a garage.
Right.
And that's a problem. As we were talking, one other thing occurred to me that we should have on our radar, which is that the state is and the city is going to be starting to grant marijuana licenses shortly. And I don't know what our committee role will be in that process, or if we will have one. But I think it's something for us to have on our radar as a committee. And then I think, Mia, maybe something we want to do is connect with other committee chairs locally to see what their anticipation is around what the process may look like, and if public safety committees from community boards are going to be involved, similar to the way that we are involved with liquor licenses, because it's right around the corner. I think it's happening in late September that the applications opened in August. My understanding is that applications are first opening for the formerly incarcerated. I think that's a law that they passed in New York, which is incredibly progressive and a good thing, in my opinion. But that the formerly incarcerated for drug offenses are going to have first opportunity to apply for those licenses. I don't know the details of all the timelines. My understanding is that it opened on August 28th. I think we're all going to learn more about what is a very new process in this state. I am not as informed as I could be, and maybe that's also an agenda item for us to discuss at our next meeting. All right, to folks. Cool. It's 8:23. We haven't voted yet on the SLA, the liquor licenses. And so Rashida and Mia, correct me where I'm wrong, but we essentially have 2 options, potentially maybe a third. One is for us to say, like, we would like to, what we'll do is we'll hold a formal vote that we would like to move those applications forward to be presented to the larger community board, or that we would kind of like to reject them and send them back to the applicants, I guess. Am I missing anything there?
Yeah, no, typically what would happen is that somebody would make a motion to recommend that the license for the particular organization is approved. It is, is approved from the committee, and then that moves it on to and then somebody would second, we do a vote, and then it passes, and then it goes on to the bigger committee. Yeah.
Great. And then just from a process perspective, question for you and for Mia, they can kind of add to their application, like those things that we requested, right? Like signatures.
So what we have, what done in the past is saying it's recommended pending submission of the signatures and further information. So we do the recommendation, approving it pending those additional items are submitted prior to the board meeting.
Great. Super helpful. Thank you, Rashida. I feel like we start with what is probably the easier one, and maybe from a process perspective, you'd like to have a conversation first and then vote. Does that feel right to folks? We can go one applicant at a time. So let's do, I'm seeing some nods. So let's start with Blunick first, since they kind of presented first and are first on our agenda. Open it up to conversation, hesitations, concerns for this group, or things that we have in favor of this application as well.
Just to kind of say, I was there when they came before us previously with their first application. So I think, based on the information, it was really to this day today, just kind of really updating us in regard to the certificate of occupancy. It doesn't seem like they really varied from what they submitted before. So because I think they were approved previously, I think we should go ahead and approve them again. That would be my 4 in kind of what happened previously.
Super helpful. Can we talk a little bit more about the certificate of occupancy?
Mhm.
So like that basically means that like they are approved by the state to have people inside, right? Like customers, is that what the certificate of occupancy is?
So, so for building departments, for every, well, different type of properties, you have to have a certificate of occupancy says this is being used for this purpose. So for restaurant purposes, for 2 family, for 1 family. So in this case, they're using it, it was maybe a catering hall, so now they're changing it to a restaurant. So that's why they had to get the certificate of occupancy. Some buildings never had C of Os because it was built prior to the certificate of occupancy rules. So they get what we call as letter of no objection, say, hey, based on the history, this is what it can be used for. So that's that's kind of the history of what a certificate of occupancy does. So yeah, it gives them permission. And you'll see it, sometimes these applications come before us before they've even kind of signed leases sometimes or things like that. So we get them in the really early stage, which is also sometimes when we get them, we have to really question them why they're coming so early. Because then this happens. But yeah, some of them will come in, you know, they haven't had all of their kind of like behind the scenes together, but they want to get this part of it going for the business.
Great. And then I guess my follow-up question, which maybe you can answer or we need to get an answer on is, do we need to have a certificate of occupancy before we grant a liquor license? Both of the applicants seem to say the state is changing their rules, but we don't really know that yet.
I don't know if, I think this once, because what we're doing is basically recommending that the approval is for this, for them to go to the next portion, which is going
Right.
to the liquor authority. So when they get to that point, then the liquors, hey, is your certificate of occupancy in place?
Yeah.
So ours is kind of just that preliminary stage, giving them the opportunity to go to that next level.
Right. So if something's wrong, the state will catch it at that final approval point anyway.
Yeah, but it's good for us to kind of like ask them about it and see where they are with the process.
So helpful, Rashida. Thank you. Okay. Blue Nook, any last kind of conversation points or should we throw it to a vote? Someone can make a motion.
Okay, since it's the first one for the year, I make a motion that we recommend the approval of Blue Nook Inc. Application for a full liquor license.
I second this motion. Is that the next thing that happens? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then
And now it moves to a full vote. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay, great. So the motion has been approved. I guess at this point we hold a vote. Yeas or nays? Like how does it work?
You just have to go through Ronald.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Ronald gives a thumbs up. Great. Janelle, what is your vote?
Thumbs up as well.
Thumbs up. Yays. Okay. Mine is also a yes. Rashida,
Yes, since I put it on the floor.
okay.
So,
Unanimous.
Unanimous approval for the recommendation.
Great.
Okay.
All right. Mia, we've crossed all our T's and dotted all our I's. Great. It keeps me honest. And then La Cucuza. I feel like maybe there was more conversation to be had about La Cucuza, so let's have it. I guess I would open by saying I've always had good interactions with the people who run that business. I know that's, I think it's relevant, you know, like they seem to be really kind of like wave to everybody on the street. They seem to know a lot of people. They seem to treat the high school kids who go in there really well, which matters to me. Because I got a lot of kids of color going in there from the local high schools, and like they seem to really respect the owners, and the owners seem to treat them well. That matters to me. They both, either one of the owners is there every single day, so they're super involved. So it's always either Joe or Sal who is there, and they seem to get along well with their employees, and they also make a good slice of pizza. I believe that they will be accountable. And then I think there are some questions, right? Like we need the list of signatures. I think that the church next door is interesting. It doesn't really seem to be active, but it is still there. And then there's also 2 other bars, like full bars that are open until like 4 a.m. that are also within 500 feet. And so just so you know, like the 500-foot rule is more of like a suggestion and it is a hard rule. The members of the larger community board are going to raise flags about it. They have in the past. I think that a letter of support from the church would go a long way in alleviating those concerns. I think they would probably wipe them out. And those were my main two pieces.
Yeah, I think you covered, that was my, like, if they can get us those signatures. And then just, something from the church, because yeah, definitely see some pushback from the larger community board on, the distance and also the church. And then you mentioned the school. Is the school close by or is it?
The schools are kind of like on Classen Ave, so
Okay.
that the whole set of schools that are on Classen Ave. So you
Oh.
got like the building that has multiple schools. It has the international school. It's 883 Classen, and then there's the LaSalle School up on Eastern Parkway and Classen, which is like the school for the deaf and the blind. And then I think that there's a school in between as well, like an elementary school, 240 something,
Okay.
which is between Classen and Franklin, but maybe like the block south of them. So there are some schools, but it's really the high school kids who obviously like to go to the pizza place because it's on the way to school from the Franklin Avenue train stop.
Okay.
And it's on the way back up. So like after school, kids stop there to get a slice of pizza often around like 3-4 o'clock.
Okay. That's it.
Are they responsible business people? Do you consider them responsible business people?
I guess it's a question of kind of like what goes into responsible for you. I think that they're engaged. I think that they're present. I think that they don't have alcohol, and so we don't. There's no noise complaints, anything like that from the pizzeria. Alcohol may change that slightly, but it's also wine and beer. It's not hard liquor. So something to consider. But what goes into responsible for you, Rob?
My question was just with the youth, with the high school kids, and being responsible and seeing to it that they don't get access to the beer or the alcohol.
Mhm.
Then comes the other stuff that comes with that.
Yeah.
And how responsible are they going to be in monitoring who's able to purchase and what hours do they serve the alcohol? And, are they going to take that in consideration? Like those hours when kids get out of school, maybe no serving of alcohol till later in the evening, something like that. I mean, I'm just talking, just to provide some question, food for thought.
Crossed my mind too.
Mhm.
Definitely.
I
I
just
thought
have a
about it.
Quick
Go ahead.
question for you, Primo. I know you told them they didn't have to stay. Is there a reason that because I mean, I know our meetings kind of go long, but sometimes it's easier to have them stay for the discussions when we're doing the voting, so they can sometimes ask questions. But I don't know if this was just like, okay, just kind of for their time constraint issues.
No, it's just I chatted with me about the structure of the meeting first, and that was just kind of like what we decided upon. But I come into it with with no guy. So if we want to do that in the future, we can certainly do that. So this is just me flying blind, thinking that this was the way that we were supposed to do things. And so if we want to do it differently, we could.
Yeah, I think you may just give them, if they want to stay, because there may be questions that come up during our conversation when we get to the voting, that would be helpful, because then we can actually kind of go back and ask them about this. That's something we didn't have, didn't come up. And then obviously they don't have to stay if they didn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, their application basically says we're going to serve alcohol whenever we're open,
Yeah.
right? And so I would imagine that that's what they're going to want to do, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that they would change that, but
Yeah.
I think that any business is going to be subject to breaking the law, and so they'd lose their liquor license if they ever got caught serving minors. And I think that they know that that's the case. It's also not the only institution serving alcohol on the block, or rather, within 500 feet. And so my personal opinion is, because the owners are there every day, we're going to see a higher level of responsibility. That's just me.
Yeah, that's good to know that the owners are there, because I was actually, as we were talking about this, I was thinking, I'm just like, yeah, high school students going in a pizza joint is different than going into a bar, because they're typically not gonna go, but a pizza place is kind of more accessible. And if the owners are there, then at least we know, like, you can have your employees checking for IDs, but if the owners are there really checking, that gives it a little bit more of a comfort level. And this may come up on when they come to the meeting for the general, just questions that the general board members may have for them as well.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I walk there for lunch all the time, and it's literally either Joe or Sal behind the counter. A lot of the time, especially in the afternoon.
I've even bumped into Mia outside of there. Pizza in hand. I'm saying I had pizza in hand. Yeah. Okay, so any other concerns, Janelle? Any thoughts on this one? Anything that it brings up for you?
No thoughts or concerns from me. Just basically hearing the owner speak, hearing your experience. I think they seem like pretty responsible owners. And it seems as though the organization's been around, well, the restaurant's been around for quite some time, and they've been, their service is good. So I don't really have any concerns.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I think, like, Mia, correct me if I'm wrong, they've been the owner for something like 5 years, and previous to that, there was another owner, but it was a pizza place. It's pretty well known, I think, in the neighborhood as being one of
Yeah,
the
they are.
slice places, aside from the brick oven folks
Right.
on the northern side of Eastern Parkway. They're good. It's a really solid slice in the neighborhood. Okay, great. So then I guess I would call a motion to approve the beer and wine license for Kukuza LLC, DBA Joe and Sal's Pizzeria.
Okay, so I make a motion that we approve the application for La Cucosa LLC for the beer and wine license, subject to them providing us with the signatures and potentially a letter from the church if they can have that.
Love it. Thank you for correcting that, adding that. I second that motion.
Vote.
Okay, so Ronald, you're voting first. That's a thumbs up vote.
Thumbs up, yes, yes.
Janelle's, I don't know if we
I
have to have
can't
it.
find that little thing. That's it.
Yeah.
I
Great.
had to go down and search for that.
Yeah, it's hard. Rashida,
Yes. That's a
okay,
yes for me.
it's yes for me as well. Great.
Unanimous.
Another unanimous passage. Important that we have those two riders on there about the signatures and the letter. But otherwise, both of these will go to the larger community board meeting on the 28th of September. So excited for that. I think that frankly concludes our business for this meeting. I think that there's some points of follow-up. Mia, you have another thing?
Just very quickly, I was able to find that memo that Joe and Sal's representative spoke about regarding the certificates of occupancy and no longer requiring it. I emailed everyone the SLA memo that was drafted. It was an August 31st meeting. And I also forwarded the link to the New York State SLA map. And based on the Joe and Sal's address, I know he said there were 2 active licenses. Those 2 active licenses immediately in their immediate vicinity is actually the meat market across the street. They have a beer only license, and that gourmet market on the corner of Union and Franklin Avenue has a beer, wine, and cider license as well. So there are 2 different emails, but I sent that to all the committee members. The SLA map is, keep it for your records, just in case you want to do your own research on something that comes across, that you come across. And the advisory is there as an FYI as well.
You said, is it 2 emails or 1 email? Yeah.
Two separate emails. The first email is New York State Liquor Authority map information, and the second, and that was 7:37 p.m. And this one is 8:38 p.m. New York State certificates of occupancy, letters of no objection, and public assembly permits, 8:38 p.m.
8:30, you give us the timestamp and everything. So legit. Great, thank you for that information. And in terms of next steps, I think we are going to reach out to the NYPD to get them into our next meeting. And that will be our kind of objective for the coming month. And then after that, we'll move on to FDNY. And after that, we'll move on to community-based organizations doing this work. I think that should give us a lot more information. And we can bring, after those 3 meetings, potentially we can host an event as well, where we can highlight some of the learnings and offer some support to the community in terms of public service, safety. I keep saying public service, public safety. It's been a real pleasure meeting all of the members today, and Thomas, pleasure meeting you as well. I hope you enjoyed our conversation, learned a little bit, and take under consideration the opportunity to apply to join this committee. Love to have.
Educational for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody have a great evening. Thank you for everything that you do for the community. And I really look forward to the year ahead working with this tremendous group. Seriously, it's an exciting group. I'm not just giving you lip service, and some smart folks with some great experience here.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys. It's been a
Primo.
pleasure.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to it. Good night. I really do.
Bye,
Take
Primo.
care. Great first
Nice
meeting,
to see you.
Primo. Good job.
All right. Bye.
Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Good evening.